This week, as we continue in Romans chapter 2, let's take a stop and look at verse 19. And art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness. Being a light, what does that really mean? According to most teachers of the scripture, to be the light means that in times of darkness, you offer hope, encouragement, kindness, and compassion. In times where others are struggling, you offer a way to help them to regain their glow and to also to shine. Another term for this would be a beacon. A beacon is an intentionally conspicuous device designed to attract attention. We've seen the big lights in car lots and whatnot that draw attention to an area. A common example of a beacon would be a lighthouse, which provides a fixed location that can be used to navigate around obstacles or into a port. Well, what is light? Let's look at it through Scripture and through science and through history. In Genesis 1:3, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. In John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 8:12, Jesus said to them, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." John 9:5, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So what is light? Light comes from energy. Light or visible light commonly refers to the electromagnetic radiation that can be seen by the human eye. Light can also be described in terms of streams of photons, massless little packets of energy, each traveling with a wave-like pattern at the speed of light. A photon is the smallest quantity, or quantum, of energy which can be transported. And it was the realization that light traveled in a discrete, what they call a quanta, and how it is moved and transported in wave-like pattern. This is where the origin of the quantum theory comes from. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. This guy sounds like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. And what he has said makes no sense, and I don't understand it. To make it simpler, when we were very young, we had a very simple idea about light. The world was either dark or it was light. And we could change from one to the other just by lighting a candle or a lamp, by turning on a flashlight, or simply reaching out and flipping the switch on the wall. Now, for a quick side note, there is no such thing as darkness. There is only the absence of light. Darkness is only a word that we use to describe no light. In fact, Albert Einstein said, "There is no such thing as darkness, only the absence of light." And he added to this thought when he says, "There is also no such thing as cold. Cold is only a word we use to describe the absence of energy, which conducts heat." Now, there is a fixed amount of energy in the universe, and no process ever creates or destroys energy. It simply turns some of the existing energy into one or more other forms. Light comes from energy. And energy is something that doesn't just turn up out of the blue. It has to come from somewhere. And in some cases, as I said, we've changed before. It may be created by our own hands. We've taken some of this energy and used to make batteries, for example. So where does light come from? And how exactly does one make light? It turns out light is made inside atoms when they get excited. That's not excited as in silly or giggly or a sense of any of that type of word. It's more specialized and scientific. Think of the electrons inside of an atom as like fireflies sitting on a ladder. When an atom absorbs energy, for one reason or another, the electron gets promoted to a higher level. Now visualize one of these fireflies sitting on the rung of a ladder. Now unfortunately, the ladder isn't very stable with the firefly wobbling around up there. So the fly takes a little persuading to leap back down to the rung below. And in doing so, it gives back energy that it absorbed. And in doing so, its tail flashes. That's pretty much what happens when atoms absorb energy. An electron inside jumps to a higher energy level, but it makes the atom unstable. As the electron returns to its original level, it gives back energy in the form of light. This is called a photon. Now, if you think about it, this just didn't happen at random. It took our Creator to put this energy in motion. So how is light measured? The lumen is the scientific term used to measure light. It measures the total amount of visible light emitted by a given light source. All other measurements for light are based on the lumen. The lumen measurement originated from the basic concept of what's called foot candles. A foot candle equals 1 lumen per square foot. The higher number of lumens are indicative of a brighter, more brilliant light, whereas a lower number of lumens represents a dimmer or a more subdued light. Now, one of my children is a collector and trader of flashlights, which is an artificial light produced by an energy source, most commonly a battery. He has amassed a great amount of time and into these flashlights, and he has studied them. Now, a flashlight brightness, or the measurement of the total output of light source, is based on the lumen. A classic mini flashlight, which we all had, peaks somewhere around 15 lumens. A typical LED headlamp puts out roughly between 50 to 100 lumens. Your typical 100-watt light bulb clocks in at around 1,600 to 1,750 lumens. As flashlights advance, you come into what's called the torch light, or the torch flashlight. This is considered one of the world's most bright and powerful flashlights. It blinds the competition. It comes in at a whopping 4,100 lumens. That's where it starts. With the more advanced LED technology, lumens can reach well up into the upper 1,000s. That's enough energy from a flashlight to cook an egg or to ignite paper. So how far can a candle be seen in the dark with these lumens? Research suggests that a candle is visible to the unaided eye at a distance varying from 3.6 to 30 miles. Now, there's a lot of factors that play into that. This is based on the degree of darkness, the obstruction between the human eye and the light source. Also, the curvature of the earth plays a factor. For a person who is 6 feet tall, standing on level ground with no obstruction, the horizon is only 5 miles away. More distant candles would not be visible unless the viewer climbed a hill. For an example, at the height of 100 feet, the horizon has now moved to 12 miles away. Now, if candles were placed on a stand or set at a higher level, its visual properties would be enhanced. Throughout history, lamps were placed on hills and on mountaintops as directional beacons for people to see, for travelers, because at a higher altitude, the lights could be seen. Now, when I spoke of degree of darkness, let me add this side note. No matter how great the darkness that surrounds the light, it not only can't conceal it, it actually makes the light easier to see. In the darkest dark, the smallest lumen of light can pierce that darkness. We can also be that light, just as the sun gives light freely to everyone in the world. Jesus gives spiritual light to anyone who looks at him. Light cannot be anything other than what it is. It's bright. It dispels darkness. It enables people to see what they're doing. Like I said, in total darkness, the smallest lumen can pierce the darkness. Jesus told his followers to let your light shine before others, calling them to live an active faith and not a passive one. Put your light on its stand. Your circumstances are the opportunity to shine brightly for the Lord and to share God's overcoming truth with those around you. Being the light doesn't mean being perfect or being a positive person who is happy all the time, because that person supposedly never makes mistakes, which we all do. It means to surrender control, trusting your intuition, showing compassion and kindness, not only to yourself, but to others, and believing the simple truth that you are enough. It also brings light into the places that are dark. It's all about looking for opportunities to lift someone else up. It's about making a conscious effort to do things that you know, to make your own light shine brighter, so that you can help other people realize the light that was within them. We're in a dark world. There's darkness all around us, the darkness of sin. And while you may not be great preachers, while you may not be great evangelists, remember, the smallest lumen can pierce the darkest dark. See you next week.